But just the tips.
Hey, that was a good one.
Oh, that could be the name of the segment.
Just the tips.
Just the When I see the board state, I feel the hope inside me rise. And everything improves as my allies rise. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. When your cards come cold, but you're playing blue. And I will be sending you all of my commander love. And I will be sending you all of my commander love.
Boom.
Wow, we just harmonized there really well.
If this is awesome, we're going to keep this. All right, so after listening back to it, we killed it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
Lowry
about as good as we're going to get.
Yeah, so that was a song request that we got from @Jojo Barrientos.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's from Above and Beyond featuring Zoe Johnston, and the song name is Sahara Love.
Yeah, and give credit to Lowry to do the entire thing here, because I've been dealing with 2 puking kids all week, so I wasn't able to really help on this.
I probably spent in between 3 and 4 hours listening to this song.
This was your project.
And this was a really good song. I really enjoyed it. Never heard of it before.
I dig the song a lot, actually.
And so we'll actually add that link at the bottom of our Podbean cast, so you should be able to find it on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
And that was a one-cut thing. We practiced it with that, and Lowry's like, well, should we have the music on? I was like, well, maybe. Let's put it in the background a little bit. We'll see how it sounds. So that's why we kind of cut it, and we came back to listen to see if it actually sounded good. And we were like, nailed it. We are keeping this in there.
Oh, boy.
Not doing it again.
But that was fun.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. Anyways, welcome to Commander Smiths.
We are the Commander Smiths.
And
I'm Lowry.
And I'm Adam Smith. What episode is this? Is this 5th? No, 16.
I think it's 16.
Holy crap.
We should probably take notes.
Yeah, I should have wrote that down, what episode we actually are on. You can follow us on Twitter or shoot us a tweet for songs if you want us to do a duet like that again.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the resolution. Like, if you tweet at us, we're both going to end up seeing it, and so we'll probably just do it together.
Which is awesome. That was actually kind of cool. I mean, I
did all the work. I'm glad that you thought it was cool.
I was texting him earlier in the week. I was like, my 1-year-old just puked. I can't. I'm just dealing with puke today, and then my 3-year-old today puked. So it's been freaking awesome.
Well, I texted you last Saturday night at midnight. I was I'm listening to this song. I'm drunk. Sorry, it's late. All I got right now is
so you were drinking.
Love. Oh yeah,
nice,
drinky. So yeah, that's
that's the hard part, I guess, with it is that. To do it together, we'd have to be in person to do it. So it almost is better
work on
it together. One other thing I did want to mention with Twitter, if for whatever reason we aren't going to do an episode that week, because we almost didn't do this week because like I said, my 3-year-old is puking, coming out both ends, and we're just, I was
TMI.
I didn't want to get Lowry sick and then bring it home to his family, but he came in, went directly down to where we record, and didn't touch a damn thing.
And I'm hardly breathing, so I'm sorry.
I highly suggest people follow us on Twitter if you're listening to us regularly, just in case if we get to Monday or Tuesday and we haven't put out a podcast. There might have been some emergency where we didn't do it then, or we'll put on there, hey, podcast is coming up later this week or whatever, so we'll give updates if you ever
that's a good avenue of getting it out there.
So just highly suggest that you guys follow us on Twitter, not to try to get you guys to follow us on Twitter, but I was thinking about it, I was like, there's no way we can let people know that are listening.
Actually, that's a really good idea. So yeah, that's probably that'll gain us the most Twitter followers ever yet.
All of a sudden this week we have a ton of Twitter followers.
Highly doubtful.
Seriously, I might
4 more. I love it.
If we're going to be putting the podcast out sooner, we'll update on that. So we'll do a little more interactive with Twitter saying that stuff.
And you can also find us on, or you can email us at commandersmiths@gmail.com.
And there you could actually send the song request if you want a specific person to do something.
Just
or if you have a question, or if you want us to I don't know, do a commander spotlight on a certain commander.
Yeah, I'd be down with that too.
could do-
Like any suggestions out there. We're running out of ideas.
No, we aren't.
What?
we have,
I have no
are you
idea.
serious? We have our episodes like backed up of what we wanted to talk about. We're like, all right, we got to split this up and split this and this.
You're
this,
highly
and
opinionated. I don't know what your deal is. I think this is pretty easy stuff. Play good cards, smash face, win. I like it.
it's very good. And then the last place is YouTube. You can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. But like I said, the updates and stuff we'll post on Twitter.
That's actually a really good point. We plan on opening Battle Bond, and that's coming out next weekend.
Yeah, we actually might do a two-headed giant on Friday. We're gonna try. There's one we're working at. One of our buddies, his buddy owns a shop, and we're gonna try to get a bunch of us together to do a two-headed
I think that'd be
draft.
really cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So,
Team
we
Commander
plan on doing
Smith.
that, and then we plan on doing a dueling box of Battle Bond off of that.
Yep.
That'll probably be coming out in a hot minute.
Yep. But
Like in two weeks. That's not a hot minute, but
well, would it come out next week?
I think it comes out next Friday.
Yeah, so we should be able to
June
do
8th?
our dueling boxes.
Yeah.
Pretty quick after that.
And I'll dominate you in that
But
too.
this, yeah, right. When said no one ever, because you haven't yet.
I'm going to.
But this episode, we are talking about CCC Blue. Core cards for Commander Blue is our segment 1.
You didn't really give it a cool voice. What's your deal?
Core cards for Commander.
You passed the minute.
Blue.
Like
CCC Blue. I like the C. That's easier when we text back and forth. What are we
It
doing
is.
this week? CCC Blue.
CCCP, Old Russia.
Nice. And then our second segment, what are we doing there? We're doing...
We'll be. We wanted to discuss a little bit like how do we choose our speculation cards?
Yeah.
Like what angles do we look at? And we'll just give you guys some
Tips.
some pro tips.
yeah, some...
From not pro people.
Yeah. But it was surprising when we actually sat down and put that together. I didn't realize that my list was so long of what I look at for finding specs.
I thought it was
and
pretty
everything.
simple, and again, I came up with way more angles than I anticipated.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into it.
So
There's
this
a lot
might
of-
take longer than
Yeah.
we anticipate as well.
And then we'll finish this episode off
Gross.
with our specs of the week. Smith specs of the week. God, I can't do the voice every time.
I think you effed that up too.
Yeah, I did.
Specs. Yeah,
Tasmanian deviled that one.
Oh, that'd be. Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't work as well.
I like it.
Well, let's start off with the CCC Blue. How do we want to do this?
It's good the way texting it. I think we should still say core cards for Commander Blue.
You can do that, Lowry.
Well, don't judge me. Judge yourself. Because
right.
I judge you. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. So how do we want to start this? We start from the
Let's
top with
start-
this. Start from the top of our list.
We can stop from the bottom. Now we're here.
Doesn't matter to me. Let's start from the
That
top.
was a Drake lyric. Sorry.
Oh, that's even though my son's name is Drake, it's not because of the rapper singer. I'm not a big fan of Drake, the singer.
I'm now a Pusher T fan.
A Pusher T.
Yeah, Pusher T. He's a rapper.
Oh man,
Who just
I'm out of the
He came
loop.
out with 2 diss tracks this last week on Drake.
Oh sweet, I'm totally not gonna go listen to that.
Yeah, that's all right. I haven't actually listened to it either. Just everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Drake's been burned." You're like, Drake's made so many millions. Like, I'm pretty sure he gave away $1 million in one of his videos.
Cool story, Hansel.
Not dying. Not dying, not lying.
All right, so do we want to start it off with Jin?
Yeah, Jin-Gitaxian's core Augur. It's really heavy mana cost.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's 8 colorless, 2 blue, and it's has flash. At the end of your turn, you get to draw 7 cards, and at the end of all of your opponent's turns, they discard their hand.
Yeah, it's a pretty sick card.
And so that, I mean, I don't even know if it matters what the power and toughness is.
I'm actually trying to find it
Yeah,
on
you're trying to find
EDH
it. What's
Rec
your
right
deal?
now. I don't know. Well, I was just
this
trying
is how
to
much
go.
work we put into this. Yeah.
We aren't even focused on what the cards are.
I'm just waiting for you to say my kids were puking this week. I don't really know.
Man,
There it is.
Okay, there we go. I hate puke.
It's a 5/4.
That's my phobia with everything. It's been that way since I was a kid. So having to deal with it as a parent, it's like, well, I'm fucked. I'm gonna get sick.
Yeah.
So I
might as well fucking roll in it.
I lost 4 pounds this week because I purposely was eating like toast, things that I didn't want to throw up, so I wasn't having like peanut butter or anything. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get sick.
Were you getting excited? You're having toast.
Hey, I wanted to lose weight, so I got 4 pounds off. I'll probably lose another 4 because of the 3-year-old. Damn you. Anyway, sorry.
So-
back to the core cards here.
and the reason why I think this is a core card, this is more of like a game ender type card.
Yeah.
Like once you play this, you get this down, it gets crazy insane.
Yeah,
Like
drawing 7 cards, the benefit right there. You just
yeah,
and
drawing
it
7 cards is bonkers, and then just having everybody else discard their hand. There's no way they're coming back from that if somebody doesn't kill it.
Yeah, exactly. And it has the flash, so you can do it pretty much at your end step. Get it so it doesn't. Well, they can still kill it if they have an instant.
Well,
but,
you could do it at the end of their like second main phase and have
oh
them
yeah,
discard
have them
their
discard.
hand.
Yeah, completely screw people over.
You
Yeah,
like that?
we got a horse in here.
Yeah. Welcome, horse.
The next card is Ley Line of Anticipation. This is an enchantment that if it's in the beginning, if it's in your hand at the beginning of the game, you can play it for free, and it allows you to play your cards for flash, basically.
Yeah, and it's an enchantment, 2 colorless, 2 blue.
Yeah.
It's just really powerful.
It's used
Being
in
able
EDH,
to-
used
yeah.
in freaking modern, like it's used in a lot of crap.
If you're able to play your spells at instant speed, you have a huge leg up.
Yeah.
So it's a great card to have. It's a little spendy, but probably worth it.
Yeah, it could go in almost any
Not
deck.
probably, it is
It
worth
is.
it. That's why we're talking about it here. I'm just a very middle of the road type guy, so I don't really do definites. At my
with
wedding,
our
I was
next one,
like, I love you for the most part. I'm in
What?
trouble. Fuck me. Oh, jeez. No, I love you. I love you, wifey.
oh, Kirsten. Uh-oh. And she listens every week. You're going
Kind
to be
of.
in trouble.
Cut
I was
that.
actually thinking...
Cut that, please.
Yeah, cut that. No, I'm keeping that.
I love you so much.
Larry is going to be grounded. Anyways, I was thinking actually we could add...
If you have this in here, I'm not going to be able to come play
If I have what?
with the podcast.
I can't come play.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could actually add Mystical Tutor. So Mystical Tutor is the next on the list, but I was thinking that could actually go with Whir
as
of
tutors
Invention
or
and
tutors.
our Fabricate.
Sure.
So in the next one is basically your tutors. So you have Mystical Tutor, which is a 1-drop instant, right?
Yeah, it's an instant.
Instant. You get to go look for an instant or sorcery and put it on top of your library. And then Whir of Invention, which I love this card a lot. And it's actually been going up in price lately, the foils and the regulars. This one is kind of like your Court of Calling, but it's blues Court of Calling.
It's 3 blue and then it's X, and your X can be it's either X amount of mana, and you can add in tapping artifacts, improvise, and then you get to search for an artifact card
and put it directly
of
into
X
play.
and put it directly into play from your library.
And then Fabricate is what, 1 blue and 2 colorless?
1 blue, 2 colorless, sorcery, go and find an artifact and put it into your hand.
Yep. So all 3 of these are cards you should have.
Solid cards to be getting.
Good for tutoring. Tutors. We always so childish.
You are.
We're 30-something
I
olds.
told you not to judge me.
We just
Judge yourself.
poop and fart jokes. Tutor.
Why not?
All right, and then
We grew up on South Park.
me, it was more Family Guy. I did like South Park too, but I loved Family Guy. Anyways, next card is Consecrated Sphinx. So this card is freaking amazing.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, and I remember when this card wasn't at the price it's at. It just was like a $5 card. But anyways, 2 blue, 4 colorless, Flying Sphinx. It is a 4/6. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards.
Do you remember the craziest thing that we ever did off of this in a
was
game?
that?
It was so you had Consecrated Sphinx out. I had Trade Secrets before it was banned.
Oh, before it was banned.
And so like I chose you, and so you I think I would draw 4 cards, and then you
Yeah,
would
I
draw
do
2
remember
cards,
that.
and then
And
you
then
would draw
draw
2 cards, 8 cards off of Consecrated Sphinx.
Yep.
You drew most of your
deck.
deck. I drew most of my deck. The other person's going, well, F this noise.
How did that game end? Did we just kind of end it right
No,
there?
I actually discarded my hand to zombie infestation, and then had because you guys didn't really know that was going to happen, and so
Yeah.
I played zombie infestation, discarded my entire hand at the end of before my turn, and then I had 22 zombies and went, F you guys.
Of course, you
was great.
remember winning that game.
Yeah,
That's why you
it was one of the
remember
few. It doesn't happen often.
The nice thing also with Consecrated Sphinx is it's a you may ability too.
Yeah.
So
It's not going to draw you out.
Yeah, you can choose not to fuck yourself if it is going to draw you out, but most of the time you're going to be taking those 2. So Larry, why don't you get into our extra turn guys?
The next section is extra turns. These are they're really good in blue or just in general. But Time Warp, which is a sorcery, 3 colorless, 2 blue, take an extra turn. And then Temporal Mastery is don't cast it for its normal casting cost,
Yeah.
and then if you pull it off the top of your library, if it's the first card you draw in
Then
a
you
turn,
get to play it
you
for-
can play it for a blue colorless,
miracle cost.
draw another card. Yeah, miracle, that's what
Yep.
it is. And that's really good with Mystical Tutor because you're putting
Exactly. That's
Temporal
your first
Mastery
card
on
that
top.
you're going to draw.
And then Time Stretch is 8 colorless, 2 blue, and then you get to take 2 extra turns. Now, Time Stretch is fantastic, but make sure that your opponents, like your friends, don't like have their eyeballs roll in the back of their head.
Because
like, they just go, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to do anything for longer.
Yeah.
So be careful with that card, in my opinion, because I've
Out of
I've
the
played
three,
it,
I
and-
like Time Warp because it's more legitimate to play. I mean, it's 5 for a nice extra turn. You know, that's a pretty good
Yeah.
time or extra
It's
turn
fair.
guy. Yeah. Next card is Kira, Great Glass Spinner. Now, I didn't start playing with this one until recently, but this is an awesome card.
I've been using this for a long time.
And I started putting it in my blue decks because it's a great. You know, we actually should match that with Spellskite in a way.
Sure.
So Spellskite is another one. Both of these cards, well, the Glass Spinner, what it does is your creatures can't be the target of spells or abilities. It counters the first spell or ability that's done to them, which includes you trying to attach any equipment.
Or auras, or pump spells, which you probably shouldn't be playing in Commander, but
Yeah.
but it also protects your creatures against spot removal.
Yep.
Because
So it's-
then basically people have to use 2 spot removal spells
To kill your
to
stuff.
kill something, and generally it's going after your Kira Great Glass Spinner.
And I would think Spellskite is a better one of the two. I like it's
Spellskite scares the shit out of
yeah,
people.
it's ridiculous. Well, Lowry was playing with Spellskite for the longest time, and then I was like,
I
I gotta
love this
get
card.
that.
So Spellskite is an artifact. It's an 0/4 construct. It's 2 mana to come out, and then you can pay
Phyrexian.
2 life or a blue, and you can change the target to itself of any like target that can target it. So like
So people attaching equipment to their stuff, you can be like, I'll just tap 1 blue or 2 life, and I'll attach it to Spellskite.
I'll take your equipment.
Yeah.
They can re-equip
Yeah.
it still, but you can always just re-equip it back
Yeah.
to Spellskite. Or their auras do the same thing. Or if they're trying to kill any of your creatures, you just redirect it back to Spellskite. I just have people instantly kill it. They
Yeah.
hate it.
Spellskite is a card I feel like it has to be in almost every 99% of blue decks. It should have it.
It's colorless. But it's still blue with the
Yeah.
ability. It's bonkers. So
Yeah.
very
Very
get
good
yourself
card.
one.
Yeah. Spend the money to get that because it is a good
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
And then we go into Bribery and Acquire. Bribery it's 2 blue and 3 colorless, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to search through target opponent's library and take any card. Creature.
Bribery is creature. Acquire is
Acquires-
artifact.
That's right. Okay.
Otherwise, they're the same
card, but searching for different things. And you
and-
get to put it into
Yeah,
play.
bribery is like somewhere in between $15 and $20. Acquire is like less than $5.
Yeah.
And I find people play some really good artifacts. Acquire is just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Bribery, I remember, was bonkers before the first Emrakul was banned in
Oh, yeah.
EDH, because everybody would play
Don't get
Emrakul,
Emrakul.
and then everybody started playing Bribery, and then going, well, I'm gonna take your Emrakul, dickhead.
Yeah,
like, why are
that-
you playing jackass cards? And so, but they banned Emrakul eventually because it is a dickhead
Yeah, that is
jackass card.
a bad card to have in Commander. And then we move into more of a new. It's kind of a newer card, I guess, because it's from Conspiracy.
It came out last spring.
Yeah. So it's Expropriate, and that one is God. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's 6.
No.
No.
It's 8 colorless,
It
2
is 8,
blue,
that's
I
right.
believe. It might just be 8 mana, so it could be 6 colorless, 2 blue.
I guess I gotta pull it up.
Yeah,
here.
maybe you should.
Yeah. Well, it's hard.
I
to
can't
pull,
read any of these, so you're the one that need to. The screen's too far away. I'm blind as a bat.
But go ahead. Just say the description. there.
So it's kind of like it's one of those either or cards, and so each player says that you essentially either take an extra turn or take a permanent from them.
Yeah.
And then, so as it goes around the table, you obviously choose extra turns. So no matter what, you get 1. So it's 7 colorless, 2 blue.
Yeah.
I was in the
You were-
middle. I
you were
was wrong
close.
both times.
You can't do anything right, Lowry.
And-
But yeah, they start with you. Each player votes for time or money, and for each
money.
time vote, you get to take an extra turn. For each money vote, you get to draw, or no, you gain control.
of target permanent.
Oh yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Then it exiles itself.
Yeah.
But it's so sick.
I mean, you're you're gonna get an extra turn because you're gonna vote for the extra turn, no matter what. And most likely everybody else is gonna say, "Go ahead and take this."
This is another card that people will curse you out for playing. But it's a game ender. So if you're looking to end the game with one of your decks and you're like, I don't have enough, this is a perfect card to be putting in there.
And I guess with the game ender, I would also add Cyclonic Rift into this one as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're not talking necessarily like game enders. Blue has plenty of them.
Yeah,
but this is just one of them.
Yeah, but we're close on our list here with Cyclonic Rift and Evacuation is another one that would be.
You're gonna mess us up on Tidespout.
No. We'll get Tidespout in there, but Cyclonic Rift is of course a must-have, and with Battle Bond, that new creature where you get to go search for an instant or sorcery or whatever and put it in 2 or less. So they just made it so you can get Cyclonic Rift so much easier now. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But anyway, Cyclonic Rift, everybody knows what that is.
It's six colorless, 1 blue. All your opponents return all their non-land permanents to their hand.
It's really only 1 blue and 1 colorless. Or you can do the overload.
Or you can do the overload, but
you're doing the overload cost most of the time.
If you're playing 1 blue and a colorless to bounce one permanent of your opponents, you're doing it wrong.
know I've had to do that once when I just didn't have the mana and it was, I had to get it. I had to bounce one thing to survive. I think it's still lost, but it just
if you have to do that, you're in a lot of trouble.
And then Evacuation is return all creatures to players' hands, so that can
also an instant.
Yeah,
three colorless, 2 blue.
That one's not as game ending because it's all players, so it's a
that's
little more
of
fair.
like a save your ass type card,
exactly.
Not a game ender.
And then you want to do the next one, back to where we were.
No, I don't want to do that. You can't skip it and then ask me to.
Now
go
it's
back.
not on the list anymore.
No, disappeared. So Tidespout Tyrant is a card that's coming out in Battle Bond as well.
Yep. So good reprint. Pick those up.
Yeah, and so it's 5 colorless, 3 blue, and it's like a 5. I'm guessing here because Adam's not doing his job.
I thought you knew it offhand.
I do, but it's not. This isn't one that I really play because again, another dick card.
I do play with this one because I'm a dick.
Maybe that's what we should call this.
Dick cards. It's 5 and 3 blue. And he's a 5/5 Jin. Yeah.
So he's a 5/5 flying Jin. Whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand.
Yeah.
So you can return land and.
I actually like the new Battle Bond art better than the original art for Tidespout Tyrant. So I might try to switch my Tidespout out for this one.
He can be really good if you're able to play a bunch of spells on a turn. Like you have him in your Animar deck, and so you're able to just you wait for Tidespout Tyrant and it comes down, and then you play to start playing 4 different creatures, and you're like, well, bounce this, that, and then all of your land. You're like, holy crap!
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then it looks like next on our list we get into more of the clone stuff because we actually didn't group that with our clones, but now I'm going to. Phantasmal Image. Do you just want to go with a description of that, and we'll just go through?
Yeah. So, do we want to do all of them together? They're basically the clones.
Yep.
So, Phantasmal Image is a colorless and a blue. It's when it comes into play, copies target creature.
We have Clever.
No, not even when it's coming into play because it happens before it comes into play. But if it's targeted, you got to sacrifice it.
Then we have Clever Impersonator,
which is 2 colorless, 2 blue.
This one is really good.
When it comes in, or as it's coming into play, you get to choose a permanent on the battlefield, and it becomes that. So it's really flexible.
Yeah. And then you have Phyrexian Metamorph,
which is 3 colorless and a blue or a 2 life. And then it comes into play as a copy of an artifact or enchant
or creature.
Artifact or creature.
Right.
So that one has the flexibility as well.
And then kind of your game winner is Rite of Replication, and that one isn't it 2 blue and 2 colorless?
Yep. And then you can kick it for 5 more.
And then you make 5 copies instead of just 1 copy.
Yeah. If you do that, you're winning the game.
Yeah.
Like I've done that with Thundermaw Hellkite and just swung for 30. It feels good.
Yeah. Rite of Replication is a very good card. So yeah, those when we group those together, you don't necessarily have to have every single one of those. It's just they're
the
each
idea of in blue is cloning, and if somebody plays,
I mean, you can go get the straight up clone if you want that too. The cheap,
but
one.
You shouldn't because there's better ones.
There's a lot better ones. I mean, even the new one with Battle Bond, the one where is it Battle Bond or is it from Dominaria? The one where it clone something and then you return a permanent. That's from Battle
That's
Bond.
from Battle Bond.
Yeah, that's right. So that one's even better than clone. Or doppelganger, the old school doppelganger.
I don't know if that's better.
You don't think so? You get to change your target.
I don't
each
play
turn?
either of them.
Yeah, neither do I.
I would go. I like the Flash one from Conspiracy, like last year, the Conspiracy 2. There's just a clone that you can play at flash speed.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So the clone idea is good.
Yeah, can I do it? It's, you know, if somebody plays Tidespout and Tyrant, and you're like, well, I'm gonna clone it for 4.
You know,
not pay 8.
One thing we didn't have on our list, but now I'm thinking of it off the top of my head, is Followed Footsteps would be a good one in there too.
That's a solid card.
Yeah,
I
because that one.
I agree. I disagree. It's a good card, but I disagree.
That's a really good card. I disagree. And that one, just off the top of my head, is 2 blue, 4 colorless. 3 colorless, and then you clone something, or it enchants it, makes it
during your upkeep, make a copy of that creature that it's aura'd,
and then it just keeps making a new copy. Can't do it to a legendary, but
and you've done it against me with like Windborn Muse.
Yeah,
that sucked because by the time I drew any like removal, you had like
more of them. 5
Windborn Muses out, and I had to pay 10 for each creature to attack. And I was like, that's why I play Maelstrom Pulse.
Yeah,
and Token Dealer Bobs.
Token Dealer Bobs?
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah. No,
Token Dealer Bob.
It's a fishing thing. Bobbers.
All right. Then we get down to As Foretold.
I'm not even sure where you're at.
Oh, we just went down Phantasmal Image. So now we're down to As Foretold.
Yeah,
we're sorry, we have a little list, but then we have like all arrows going all over the place because we started grouping
arrows,
stuff.
I just fucking cross it off and group it.
So As Foretold it's a newer card. It's from Amonkhet. It's 1 blue, 2 colorless enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a counter on it. Then you may cast that turn. You may cast any card that costs how many counters are on it or less. For free.
We had a little disagreement on this one. Like I can see why Omniscience, which is a very similar card,
would I would say it, Omniscience.
Yeah, Omniscience Theater. Now it's showing.
Yeah.
So Omniscience, it's like 10 mana to cast enchantment, and then you can play cards for free.
For free, yeah.
As Foretold is very similar, as in like for each counter you get to play the spell of converted mana cost to the counter or less. But in my opinion,
his thing was the late game stuff.
If you draw it late, it's garbage. Like in my mind, it's really bad.
I mean, there's a lot of cards that if you draw it late, they're garbage that we have on. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know
like that isn't going to necessarily help.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I agree with it.
I disagree.
I agree with my statement.
I would like to change your mind.
But yeah, then we had Omniscience on there.
Would you like to command debater? Go ahead.
Oh, no, let's not do that again. And then we move into Propaganda, which is a must.
This is
Ghostly
core
Prison.
card. Yeah, it's enchantment, 2 colorless, 1 blue. Any creature that attacks you, they have to pay 2 to attack you. Doesn't count for planeswalkers, so they can still attack your planeswalkers from that. But it's a bonkers. If you can get that down early, people just don't attack you at the beginning because they want to play spells and still like get in some minor damages.
No, we can kind of jump in with that, with saying the playing that to make people not attack you and get into our next group of cards, which is the other enchantments we had. So Cursive Verbosity is one that we also had a discussion on. That's a newer card from the last Commander set, and what it does is it's 1 blue and 2 colorless. You curse a player, and then when anybody attacks that player, they get to draw a card, and you get to draw a card. So I liked it for the draw engine factor, and cards that we also thought were similar.
The one that I kind of went with was, and it was a Smith spec for myself, was Monastery Siege, which when it comes into play, you can either choose it draws you an extra card and you discard a card from your hand, or any time that permanent you control is targeted, it costs 2 more to target it.
It's a pretty good solid.
So that's
engine
mine.
with that,
so we were compromising by just adding them both.
Yeah, by saying them all at the same time. And then we had Rhystic Study.
Rhystic Study is bonkers. We both agree with that one.
It's just annoying sometimes because it's always are you going to pay 1 more for that?
Yeah.
Are you going to pay 1 more for that?
That's also true. Like just a reminder on it. But it's a 2 blue or 2 colorless, 1 blue enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they may
have to
pay 1 more, or you draw a card.
So you're constantly Are you gonna?
Did you pay that extra one? Are you going to?
Yes,
Do you
fucking
want
A,
to?
Lowry. I'll pay one. Damn it!
You gotta remind. I play the card a lot, and it's a feel good card.
Yeah,
for me.
it is a good drawing one because a lot of times the player's just like.
I've won games off of it.
Yeah, as a player, you're trying to get as much out as you can. Use up, not leaving mana.
You want
so
mana
you're
efficiency.
just like boom, boom, boom. Well, fuck yes. Go ahead, draw your damn cards, Lowry.
And one way that we tend to play, like, as long as somebody isn't drawing cards, I'll wait until at the end of somebody's turn, and just to make it easier. And then you can be like, well, you played 3 spells, but you only got 2 left. So do you want to tap those 2, or I draw 3 cards, or 2 or 1? And I give them that choice as long as the information that they're having isn't changing.
Yeah.
Just to make it easier, so you're not going, are you going to pay 1 more? Or are you going to pay 1 more? Did you pay 1 more for that last one?
Oh, yeah, I get to draw more. You didn't pay
cool,
one.
Thank you.
Next one we move into, we already got those guys done, so we're into...
Did you want to do Fatespinner?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was kind of like a last
You're
minute.
just skipping around.
Well, that was one I circled that we would get to it if we had time.
No, we'll get to it if we got time.
Okay. Well, we said it, so now I got to talk about it.
No.
I'll just talk about it
we're
really
coming
quick.
back to it.
Fatespinner.
I don't want to talk about it now.
It's 2 blue, 1 colorless. It's a wizard. It's a wizard, Harry. You're a wizard, Harry. Is that a pretty good Harry?
No, you need to practice more.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Not on air.
Hagrid.
Not recording.
What it does is each opponent at the beginning of their upkeep, they have to decide if they're either they gotta skip one of these phases: drawing, playing a spell, or attacking with creatures.
Pretty much.
That's
not
what
really,
the card,
but
it's more of
you're skipping your main phase. You can play instants still.
Well, yeah. You skip basically playing your creatures or sorceries and stuff. Yeah. It's I'm gonna have enemies card though. As we were kind of discussing, I'm like, yeah, you play this card and everybody's gonna be pissed at you.
It turns into a curse against you.
Yeah. But it's effing them over too. So I don't know. Then we go into what I was going to talk about was Mind's Dilation, which is one card.
I feel like we should skip this one now then, since you added
because we got to cut one of yours.
No, that's not how I roll.
This is one
we only have so much time.
I believe I talked about as a late spec where I spec'd on it, but then by the time we got to the podcast, it had already jumped, so we didn't really. But this is 5 and 2 blue, so it's a really high casting cost. It's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts his first spell each turn, that player exiles the top card of their library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So it's a pretty good draw, playing other people's crap card.
I think it's super powerful, and it's relatively cheap non-foil at this point. So it's probably worth it.
Do you want to get to our...
Do cantrips?
Yeah.
So cantrips are pretty important because they're cheap. And they draw you a card. They're just kind of like card replacement for the most part, but it also card choice. And so some of those to be looking at.
You want to read it? You go for it.
Well, yeah,
Serum Visions.
Run it off. Yeah, Serum Visions. 1 blue sorcery. You draw a card and you scry 2.
Ponder.
Look at the top 3 cards, reorder them in any way, and then draw the top card or shuffle and draw.
Preordain.
Preordain is 1 blue sorcery. Then that's scry 2, then draw 1.
And then we have Brainstorm,
which is 1 blue instant, draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order.
The instant part of that is pretty good.
Brainstorm is arguably the best card in Legacy. Mm-hmm. You're able to put any 2 garbage cards that you don't really need at this point on top of your library, and then you're supposed to shuffle them away.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It gets you
getting
better cards. If you're just going to draw those cards back over, that's fine too, because if somebody's like, everybody discard their hand, you're like, well, I'm going to brainstorm and put the 2 cards that I can play back on. Yeah, it's very versatile. And
then after we get into that, we'll go into our counterspell stuff. So you have your just...
There's not many counterspells. Probably don't play them.
They're terrible.
Yeah, don't do that.
We're picking the ones that are actually decent that you can play with. It's your regular counterspell, which is just counter target spell. It's 2 blue. Arcane Denial. I like this one because there's a little benefit to getting it's like, hey, I counter your spell, but you get to draw a card.
You get to draw a card. I get to draw a card.
Then you have Cryptic Command. Or actually, no, we were going to go Force of Will.
Force of Will, which is a free counter spell.
If you have the money, it's expensive. Yeah. I don't
highly
have one.
Suggest. It protects you from combo. If you're playing against combo players, it's you kind of need it.
Yeah. And the thing is I don't like counter spells in general, so that's kind of why I don't have one. I'm like, I'm not going to spend the money to get this card because I don't like counter spells. So that's why I don't have it. But then we kind of have a mix of the next one that kind of leads us into our next card. Cryptic Command is also a counter spell, but you get to choose. You have to choose 2.
Cryptic Command is an instant that's 1 colorless and 3 blue, and then you can choose 2 between countering a spell, bouncing a creature, or tapping all
creatures
of their creatures, or drawing a card.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty good.
Just being like, the worst thing to do is counterspell, draw a card.
Yeah.
But if somebody has a huge team and you know they're going to swing at you, you just
tap them
before
down.
They attack, you tap them down and draw a card,
or they can
bounce
get you,
something.
that can get you the win too if they're all tapped out.
It's really versatile. I highly suggest.
Yep.
It's used in Modern a ton. It's a very good card.
And then that also goes kind of well with
Mystic Confluence is another really good card, similar to Cryptic Command, and that's 3 colorless, 2 blue instant that you can choose 3 of them, which is counter target spell unless that player pays 3. Return target creature to
its owner's
hand. Draw a card,
and you can pick these more than once.
Yeah,
so you could go 5 and I draw 3 cards, or 5 and counter that spell unless you pay 6 and I draw a card.
3 creatures, or use them in any conjunction.
And this is being reprinted here in Battle Bond as well.
So it's a lot cheaper. It's half price easily at this point, and I suggest going out and getting 17.
And is this the first time it's printed as a foil?
Yes.
Oh, they have a promo judge foil.
Oh, they do have a judge. All right.
But, whatever. The actual printing, this is going to be the first time it's foil, so this is going to be an expensive card. But it's a very good card. So, yeah, definitely go pick those up. Then we move into, we do our god, Thassa, God of the Sea.
Well, not my god. Might be your god.
Yeah. You know me and god stuff.
Let's not get on that.
Let's not get on that. Not religious. That's out there. Whatever. That's me.
Now we're gonna lose listeners. We agreed not to talk
politics
religion or politics. What's your deal?
I'm sorry. Now we just all of a sudden we see next week or it'd have to be the following week because I have to listen to this podcast. It gets cut in half or whatever.
How about
godless son of a bitch?
Cut in half. Everybody's listening just for me.
Well, so yeah, exactly. It's like Lowry has the god part. I don't. So there. If you like it, whatever. Lowry's your god guy. I don't know. Lowry's god. Anyways, so Thassa. The good thing about this one is it's indestructible.
Thassa, God of the Sea.
Yeah,
not Thassa.
Not Lowry god.
You can't blame this one on me.
It's all you, Lowry.
No.
I can't believe you did that.
You're a heretic.
I'm a what?
You're a heretic.
I don't even know what a heretic is.
That's okay.
What the hell is a heretic? Now you got to tell me what a heretic is.
No, look it up on MTG Goldfish.
On Goldfish? All right.
Just read the card.
All right. So Thassa, indestructible 5/5. It's 1 blue, 2 colorless. Now I want to know what a fucking heretic is.
All right. So Thassa, God of the Sea is it's an enchantment creature. So it's a enchantment if you don't have
how the hell do you spell heretic?
I'm just waiting for you to call me an asshole so you can we can open that beer I brought.
That's not how that works. I call you a drunk, not an asshole.
Same thing in my mind.
A person believing in or participating or practicing religious. Okay. Yeah. All right. I got you.
Did I use it right?
I think so.
Okay,
back to the cards.
You need 5 mana symbols on your side for it to be a 5/5 indestructible creature. You get a scry at the beginning of your
That's
upkeep.
kind of the big thing.
That's really good. And then you can pay a colorless and a blue and give a creature unblockable, which is also really good.
Like really, it's 3 mana for this, and you get the last 2 abilities are amazing. You don't even most of the time I don't even have her as a creature. It's just like, all right, give me the scry ability, and this is unblockable. Oh, you can't block, you're dead.
Just being indestructible makes it really hard to deal with, and it's a lot of value. incremental value. So
then let's get into our planeswalkers.
you want to do the Jaces?
Yeah, so we picked both Jaces. You have Jace the Mind Sculptor.
There's like 17.
But the main ones. Jace the Mind Sculptor, or the core cards.
Yeah, Jace the Baby Face.
And then you have Jace
Bellerin. And
that one's more budget-wise.
I think it's reasonable to get, and I still think it's really good because it can be draw a card, gain 5 life because people want to kill it.
But if you have the money, and right now would probably be the time to get the other Jace because it got reprinted.
Still $100, but Jace the Mind Sculptor is really powerful.
Yeah, and then we finished that up with Tez.
Tezzeret the Seeker. He's 3 colorless, 2 blue, and his first ability is to untap 2 artifacts, which you're going to be playing Mana Rocks, so it's kind of a ramp right there. You can minus exit to go and search for any artifact and put that into play for the converted mana cost. And then you can ultimate and turn all of your artifacts into 5/5 creatures.
So most likely you're going to play this more in a heavy artifact deck, kind of, but actually the first 2 abilities make it so you don't necessarily have to be artifact
depending
heavy.
On the situation.
But I mean, it would do really well with an artifact heavy deck.
Sure, yeah, it would. But like I've even done it where if I have something like Panharmonicon out, I will play Tezzeret and just kill it and go and get Solemn Simulacrum and then put it directly into play because it comes in with 4 loyalty. You minus 4 it, go find an artifact with 4, put Solemn in, get 2 lands into play, and it just gets you way ahead right there. Like just the tutor ability, the ramp
you could
ability.
go find a Soul Ring, or if you don't have
you can just go and do that, and then he has 3 power, and then you can untap that Soul Ring the next turn. He's really versatile, really powerful in my opinion, because you're going to be playing artifacts.
Yep.
And if you're not, you're a jackass. Or not. I mean, maybe Aura Shards is really heavy in your metagame.
Yeah, that might be true. And then one card that Lowry uses a lot, that's a very good card, is Muldrifter. You have this in quite a few decks.
I really love this card.
It's used in multiple...
So Muldrifter is a 2/2 flyer creature, and it's 4 colorless and blue. That's all it is.
No,
and then you get to evoke it for... 2 colorless and a blue, and then when it comes into play, you draw 2 cards. So, in my mind, it just like you can have it affects enter the battlefield like with Panharmonicon or something like that. You can reanimate it in something like Muldrotha. It's early card draw if you need it. It's late evasive creature if you need it. It just does a whole ton of things that you want.
And it doesn't matter how many times they print it at common, it gets over $2.
Yeah.
Every freaking printing is over 2, then it just keeps going up. Foils actually could be a spec, just kind of offhand, because they're only around $4. If you pull
specs of the
middle
cost.
In the middle of the podcast. Yeah. Oh wait, no, that's $9. Oh, that's the Lorwyn
version.
Why.
Yeah, Lorwyn version's expensive, and the promo version's expensive, but the Modern Master versions are like under $3.
Yeah, another card that kind of fits with this too is Snapcaster Mage. I don't have a Snapcaster. I know I should have picked them up when they were a little bit cheaper.
They were 20 when they were out in standard and stuff like that. But Snapcaster Mage is
everybody kind of knows that one, but you get
colorless and a blue flash 2/1. When it comes into play, you give an instant or sorcery flashback in your graveyard. It's a ton of utility. I highly suggest getting it, even though it's like a $50 card at this point. 60, 70. Jesus. What is going on? People stop buying cards. Trade for them.
Friggin' crazy.
Be like Lowry.
Yeah.
Stop buying cards.
And then we get kind of, this is I'll read through it, and Lowry, you can kind of say what they do, but this is our removal section of blue. Start off with Pongify.
Blue, instant, destroy target creature,
turn
put a 3/3 ape, which is fun.
Same thing with, Curse of the Swine is pretty sweet.
I like Curse of the Swine,
but it's not an instant, but it's a sorcery, but you get to do, it's 2 and X, 2 blue and X.
2 blue and X.
And then you get to pick X amount of creatures and turn them into 2/2 boars.
And it exiles them.
I said boars, not whores.
Well, they could be whores too. Yeah. I mean,
horror tokens.
Maybe.
Oh man, I kind of want to make those now. All right. And then you got
You got the internet. Don't make tokens.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
guess.
problem? And a wife, but
yeah, and that's like a side thing. And a wife. We have
we're in so much trouble.
yeah, you are imprisoned in the moon.
If you want to know if we can have a podcast next week, check out our Twitter because we might not be able to. We could be in a lot of trouble.
My wife doesn't listen to this podcast, so I'm good.
She listens to you when you're cutting this up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll just make sure to turn this. I'll put my headphones on this part. Imprisoned in the moon is similar thing. It's an aura, but you get to put it on a permanent. It turns into
a colorless mana
Yep.
source.
Then there's reality shift.
And that's colorless and a blue instant, and you exile target creature, and then they manifest the top card,
which then turns into a 2/2.
And so it's a 2/2 creature. If it's a creature, you can
pay its mana cost
to
and flip it over.
But if not, if it's like a land, it's just a 2/2.
Yep. Then you have rapid hybridization. That one's a little hard. Hybridization. There, I had to slow it down.
Well, speed it up in post production.
Yeah,
and then it'll
right.
be fine.
Just that little part. Oh, he said it perfectly right.
Hybridization.
Yeah, it's just really quick. What was that?
That's same thing as Pongify. It just turns into a different creature.
Some other. It's
a
boar. That one turns him into a whore.
Is it a boar? No,
a
it's
whore.
a frog.
Oh yeah, it is a frog. Yep.
3/3 lizard frog.
Lizard frog.
Amphibian-ish.
Dude, I think we're not done.
Could be a newt.
We have a couple more on here.
I don't know if I know any other amphibians.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our list. I'm not talking about. Hey, what else can we turn this into? I think we only have.
Empress
we
Galina.
have. What was that?
Empress Galina.
Yep, that's our last one. Which that one I didn't even know about, and Lowry had that on his list, and I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty freaking sweet
Empress
card.
Galina is 3 colorless, 2 blue creature, and basically it's a legend, and you can pay 2 blue, tap it, and steal any legend.
It's pretty freaking sick. And
I was picking them up because I was like, perfect for EDH. People play the commander. I steal their commander, and F you.
And it's better than...
I'm cursing a lot this episode. I apologize. I don't know what my deal is.
It's similar to the Satyr,
Willow Satyr,
and that one was a
Legends.
reserve list, so that one kind of went up. But that one had to stay tapped. This one, when you untap it, it doesn't. You get to take another freaking legendary thing.
Yeah, you can do it turn after turn.
And it doesn't matter if it dies; you still get to keep it if it dies.
And it's awesome. Like I was doing this before Planeswalkers were legends, but now you can just steal Planeswalkers.
Yeah,
and that's feel good.
And
again for Lowry,
it's about a $15 card. I'm probably gonna have to pick one of these up because it is a pretty bonkers card. Because everybody has commanders, so you're gonna have targets.
Yeah. if they're not playing their commanders,
they're
the
doing
point?
something wrong.
What's the point?
Well, there are some commanders that just sit like Edgar. You don't really need to play. He can just sit in your.
But what's the point?
Yeah. But yeah, that rounds up our list of
core cards for Commander Blue.
Exactly.
Turned into like country right there, I think. Did I?
I don't know.
I can't hear myself.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
I'm partially deaf.
Oh crap! I might have took your spec out of there. I'll get it back. Don't worry. Anyways, let's move into our segment 2. How we do our specs. So
how you doing?
There's quite a big list of. I guess let's just talk this through. Initially when you're looking for specs, there's quite a few things.
I guess.
Yeah.
Fully.
I guess the biggest thing that happens is when a new card comes out, like a new commander. For example, with Battle Bond, with these 2 flip coin commanders.
What's their name?
I'm trying to go Zender Split.
I like that.
Got it. Zender Split, and what was the other one? That was Eye of whatever. Whatever. They both have one eyes.
Chaos.
Yeah, Eye of Chaos.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Eye of
I was
Wisdom.
just being a dickhead.
Yeah. But like that, for example, when you get a card that's spoiled that has a big trigger of, this is a commander that's for the first time having a good commander for flipping coins.
Yeah.
All the flip coin stuff is going to go crazy.
It becomes potential to go crazy.
Yes.
And so that's where you got to sit down and go like, okay, is this worth it? Would this work in that deck? And really you have a wide swath because coin flipping really hasn't been a thing at all.
But people like it and they've that's the thing is something like that people for the other
people want to
example
embrace chaos, and there hasn't
been a coin flipping commander,
so it's perfect for that.
And same thing with like Slimefoot. People were waiting for a decent commander that
for
could deal with
Saproings.
Yep. And so you finally had it, and then all those cards went freaking nuts. And at that point, kind of go with what we were saying before too, is you kind of go for the foils if there are foil printings in it.
And if there's reserve list cards, you go for the reserve list cards. Like as an example, for the coin flippers, Frenetic Efreet is like a $15 card now. Yeah. Because those commanders came out, there became a use for a card.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what you're doing is you're looking at a new deck that's going to be being made, basically.
Yeah.
And so you got to that one's a hot minute. You got to get on it really quick when you
those are the ones you got to get
like
it right when the spoil happens, and you kind of got to go for it quick.
So that's like day trading. Like you're trying to get in.
Yep.
Get in before the spike, see the spike, and then.
And a lot of times when I've done...
Or just get in before so you can actually play with the deck. You just got to be quick on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what I've learned with that is I've actually had it where I've had a bunch of stuff in my cart, and then I go to check out, and people have already bought the cards because they're going that quick.
And I don't even do that. I've had it happen where there's a spike and I'm randomly buying stuff. I'm like, shit.
What the hell?
Why can't I get this? And then go and try, and then it's gone again. Like,
yeah. So actually what I do with that is if I try to do it quick. I go through really quick and get the cards that I want. And then if I'm wanting to buy more, I buy those so I at least get the copies before they spike. And then if I do want more of us, then I go back through and I research a little bit more. I'm like, this one's going to be used a little bit more. So with the coin stuff, I kind of went through. I'm like, this one actually makes more sense. This is going to be in a lot more decks. So then I do kind of like a second wave where I'll buy a little bit more of a certain card, 1 or 2 cards.
Okay.
With that.
Another thing that we've done on the podcast here for buying or like speculating is when cards are reprinted.
Yep.
And we kind of do that so we did that a lot with Masters 25, and we've talked about it with Battle Bond coming out. But when an expensive card is being reprinted, it's a good time to go and buy it after a certain point of time that it's been out.
Yeah.
Especially if it's
the price
usable.
Has dropped enough where
so,
it actually makes
we've
sense
talked
to
about
buy
the filter lands. They were all getting up over 15. Now they're all under 10. This is a good time to go and get them because they're solid cards and they're usable.
And that kind of goes with Battle Bond with, it depends how low Doubling Season gets here. So Doubling Season would be a good target for something like that.
And I would think Mystic Confluence would be a solid one. Yeah. Tidespout Tyrant's probably a little out there.
Yeah. Your biggest increase is going to be on the Doubling Season and Confluence and stuff.
Doubling Season will probably fully recover.
Yep.
It'll probably get up to $60 again within 2 years.
Yeah, so I'm hoping those drop down to around $20 or so, and that'd be a nice little pickup.
I don't think it's
to.
I'm guessing 25, 30, but
we'll see what happens with that. And then some other things that I'll do is I'll check how many are for sale. So you go on TCG and you can see actually how many copies of a certain card are for sale. If that list is down to 1 page, like if you don't have multiple pages and it's only down to the 1 page, that's being bought, like it's about to go. Or another thing with that, when you're looking at that list, if there's a very big variance between, there's maybe like 10 cards that are $1, and then all of a sudden that $1 jumps to 15, that means that's about to pop. One podcast I listened to, like how they phrase it, they call it the tipping point, when it's actually about to burst, to go
spike.
Yep. So that's something that I look at. Another thing I'll look at is like EDH. I'll go to EDH Rec and look at how many decks it's being used. If I see an increase happening, like that's more for newer cards, for cards printed, 6 months down the road, it's in 2,000 decks. A couple months later, it's up to 5,000. A couple months, if that keeps increasing and it's a good card that I feel like is a good spec that should be used in a lot of decks, then I might start focusing on the foils of those.
Yeah, and the further it is out of print, the more, like when it's brand new, you don't know how many are going to be in circulation, and then
it all depends on how many boxes are opened, and
and then don't really know the specifics of. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
but
more work than we want to do.
And then you almost got to guess like the player base. Is it going to increase? Is it going to lower? And that's pretty hard to kind of guess with. But it is an important factor on that.
And then I guess one thing that happens is if it's a card that I feel like should be used a lot, that's sometimes what I'll target. You know, like for example, when I've talked about Mirage Mirror, I feel like that should be used like in almost every EDH deck because of its, you know, versatility with that is being able to copy anything on the battlefield. I think it's such a good card. And then as you see, like that card is starting to go up. The actual regular ones I've been seeing, the price continues to rise with that. So like certain things like that, where the card you feel should be used in a lot of decks is sometimes what triggers my piques my interest.
And sometimes you're wrong. But,
yeah, no, sometimes
but and that's fine. And that's the whole thing. If you think it's good, that means you want to play with it, and so it's not as bad of a buy anyway.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with that. And I've definitely done Smith specs where I'm like, I just really like this card. I think it's powerful enough to just be in decks.
Sometimes you run into trouble with cards that are good, but they might be like old and just Commander players don't know about it. And they just...
Or just, or
and
Legacy,
so
it's not good enough for Legacy, and then it has to
so people don't,
following.
like, there's a lot of old cards, and we were going through that reserve list stuff where I was just like, this is really good for Commander, but you don't see it played because it's such an old card.
Well, like, you can even use, like, Mystic Remora as an example. Up until, like, more than a year ago, this was less than 50 cents. Now it's like a $2 to $3 card because people are like, well, I just pay one, and I have, 2 turns of chances of being able to draw a couple cards, and as long as you draw like 2 cards off of it, it's passively making people either go, do I want to play this, or am I going to wait until Mystic Remora is gone?
Yeah.
Like once it takes some time for people to realize that cards are good.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Some other things. Lowry does this a lot. This is some of our early specking. Lowry finds cards. If you find one that's similar to a card that's expensive. So, for example, a couple weeks ago when I talked about the Gaia Reach and the Center of the Sea, those are very similar lands. And actually, Lowry is the one that got me on that one because he was like, hey, this one from Eldritch Moon is very similar to the card that's freaking $20, $30 or whatever. So we bought a bunch of those.
Yeah, it was 20 at that time, I believe.
Yeah, and so bought a bunch of those. We didn't know that it was going to get reprinted again, but now that's the foils are the ones that I spec'd on, a few weeks ago. Same thing with Breaking and Entering. Those are very similar to other cards that are very expensive cards, and same thing with Beck and Call. So those are kind of, if you find cards that are similar to a card that does the same thing that's very expensive, sometimes those are very good specs, because in Commander, then you having 2 of something that do the same thing is a little bit more consistent in your deck. And
so, like, the example of Beck and Call, like, Beck is blue and a green sorcery. Whenever you have a creature come into play, you draw a card. Which is very similar to, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a Kamigawa card, 1 green. Whenever a creature comes into play, you draw a card. But that Kamigawa card is banned in Modern. But it's played in Legacy. It's a $25 card. But if Beck ever starts seeing play in Modern as a replacement for that Kamigawa card, Glimpse of Nature.
Yeah, I was pulling it up. I'm like, I think it's Glimpse of something, because that's the same thing with.
And so if you're like, okay, but Call isn't,
or
Beck isn't banned in Modern, so if that ends up making a deck, it'll explode.
Yeah.
And so that card has a potential in my mind to get up to $15.
And that's the same thing that goes with. Breaking and Entering is very similar to Glimpse the Unthinkable.
So, and Glimpse the Unthinkable was a $20 to $30 card before the reprint in Iconic Masters.
Yeah.
And so
the only downfall that those cards have with Commander is that they have the freaking 3 colors. They can. You have to have those 3 colors to be able to play those. But that's an example of a card that's expensive and one that isn't, that does a very similar thing that you can kind of spec on a bit.
One thing that I tend to keep an eye on, even though like I specifically play Commander, I try and keep an eye out on all of the different formats, vaguely. And so like one thing that can save you money is kind of investing not in the tier 1 decks of Legacy or Modern, but go and find the up and coming decks, or the ones that have potential, that just need a card to be printed to make it really powerful. But if you buy, so like an example would be Tron. Tron was played for a very long time in Modern, and it was a lot cheaper than it is now. Now it's a dominant force in Modern, but it wasn't tier 1 up until the banning of Splinter Twin and that green card that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it wasn't a tier 1 deck until a couple of things changed, and now Karn is a $100 card.
Yeah.
Before it was $20-$25 after like Modern Masters reprint. And so you're sitting there going like, well, if I had just gotten into Tron beforehand, or saw a powerful card that just wasn't played enough and got it, you that's a good way of speculating, going, this could be a good deck.
Yeah.
And so that's the example.
To piggyback on that, looking at other formats and stuff, that's another way of specking, is if you have the recent, if a deck makes it to the top 8 and there's a certain card in there, sometimes, a lot of times actually, that card will spike, a certain card that actually gets played in a lot. If it's used in multiple decks, then that card's going to go bonkers.
Yeah.
So keeping an eye on multiple formats is a very good idea for specking.
The weird thing that kind of happened this Pro Tour, for Dominaria Pro Tour, they just did it. They just finished up, I believe.
It's that Goblin, the Char.
Goblin Chain Wielder or Wielder.
Yeah.
So that card was bonkers. It was a 4 of in every top 8 deck, I believe. But the reason why Dominaria Pro Tour was weird was because it was 6 weeks after
the release.
And so everybody had already felt like they figured stuff out. So that's why like Lyra Dawnbringer and Teferi and Karn all spiked, because everybody's like, these cards are bonkers.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't even
They weren't even in it, yeah.
But Goblin Chain Whirler, it went bonkers. It's gone up $2 since
this weekend.
Today.
Yeah.
And then, I guess it was this weekend. Yeah. So we're doing this Sunday night. I was thinking it was Friday.
Yeah.
We
did do the last few podcasts have been Fridays, but
if you look at it, you go, well, Goblin Chain Whirler is a really good card in Standard. I wouldn't go and get it now because everybody knows it is. But if you thought it was a good one, and you're seeing people play it more and more on Magic Online, or if you're keeping an eye on deck lists that are being printed for any format, and you're going, this is showing up a lot, this might be worth going and getting.
Yep. I think we gotta kind of wrap things up a
Ah.
little bit. Well, there's a couple. We'll just burn through. So a couple other tips that I do is, if you see a certain, like, if one of the the regulars all of a sudden spike. Sometimes this does happen where the regular printing of that card will go crazy, but the foils haven't been bought yet. I've seen it where the regulars get to the foil price, if not lower or higher than the foil price. Then you want to jump on the foils, because the foils are about to go. And that's vice versa. If you see the foils go crazy, all of a sudden they have a $15, $20 spike, your regulars are going to follow. They're not going to have as high of a spike, but most likely the regulars are going to come up a little bit as well.
And just to specify on that, foils are going to have a higher multiplier when a card is doing better. So even though your non-foil card jumps, $5, your foil card, even though it's going to be more expensive to buy, has a more likely to go from $5 up to $20.
Yeah.
So
exactly. That's what we've been saying with specs is, focus on the foils if you can, because you don't have to buy as many of them, and the spike is a lot higher.
And it's typically a lot easier to sell them.
Yep, a lot easier, because especially to EDH players. So that's what most of our specs are. A lot of times EDH driven. I mean, sometimes we do other stuff too, but EDH is our main focus. So the foils, that's what EDH players like. We like shiny.
Quick note: remember to keep your ear and eyes on the reserve list.
Yep.
Still, there are plenty of cards that are cheap. That might be worth buying. So I would say kind of talk about that. One thing that I like doing, and it's really been beneficial to my collection, is banned cards. And I'll talk about
and that's
that
kind
today
of
as well.
foreshadowing to his spec as well.
One of my specs. So I'll talk about it more then.
And his the reserve list comment as well as kind of a foreshadowing to my spec a little bit.
Another thing to keep out, if you're hearing about a new format that's being formed, check it out, see what's powerful in it.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people. There was Frontier last year that was really big.
Now we have Brawl.
And Brawl just came out, so I don't know. I don't think that's really moved any prices at this point. It's kind of hard to.
But you have Popper that's moving stuff.
Popper moved a ton of common cards up in price, and so if you kind of had them, or if you're like, hey, I'm in Popper, so I have decks. Once it became legitimized by Magic, Commander was really cheap to play because there just wasn't a use for a swath of cards before Commander, and now Commander just kind of pulls
the
from
biggest
everything.
thing that Magic has, and it's expensive. Anything else? I think I went through my list of pretty much how I go about it.
I have two more little tips and tricks. Underused or returning keywords.
Yeah.
So, there was potential for like kicker to become, so you kind of go back and see if kicker was going to be anything. Whenever they're doing cycling, could bring up some cards. Stuff that they tend to reuse. I think they call it, I'm not going to say it if I don't know it, but if it's kind of like a returning mechanic, some cards in the past can come up. So if you're like, or even like Dragon Set's coming out, everything old dragony got ate up.
Yep.
And so kind of know what's happening in the future a little bit.
Yep.
And then the last one that I would want to mention is like cheap combos that aren't used. So I would use an example of like Devoted Druid and Quill Spike. It's essentially a combo. Quill Spike gets as big as you want and
infinitely
can instant
big.
kill.
Yeah, that's been around forever. We've had that,
and it was never used in a deck, and it still isn't used in a deck.
But it's freaking amazing.
But Devoted Druid's up to like $8-10 because it became an infinite combo with Vizier, something or other from Amonkhet.
Yep.
But Quill Spike still has the potential there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't invest at this point. Like whenever I saw either of them for 50 cents or less, I would just I'm going to buy it easy.
Yeah.
At the card store. But now I'd be like, well, Devoted Druid's $8-10. I'm not going to buy that. But Quill Spike's like
still cheap.
under $3. I know that much. I would pick it up for cheaper because that has the potential to get a lot higher if that combo ever works.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And I've missed out on Splinter Twin, Escape Shift, like because I remember hearing about it. Oh, that's too far fetched, and then they just print a card, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Now it works amazing.
So I found that's probably burned me the most. Where I'm like, I'd like to build that deck, but I just it doesn't. It's not good. Nobody plays it.
There again, what we talked about from the beginning. A card gets printed is a lot of times it triggers things. Sometimes you got to dig deep. Sometimes your obvious choices get bought up, but then there's some secondary things that might help that work with that card. And a lot of times with Commander players, especially. It's a commander that your general that gets made, and it makes a whole bunch of things trigger.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much you got more with that list?
No, that's it. That's that was kind of what I was going with.
Yeah, so
I at least took 5 minutes to think about this.
Kind of our tips of what we do. I mean, you can tweet us, let us know maybe some tips that you do that we haven't thought of.
You're good today on that.
On the tweeting?
Yeah.
Plugging ourselves.
I appreciate you, Adam.
Well, no, that's if people want to leave a comment with it, twittering us, twattering us.
No. We're already in trouble.
But yeah, you can do that. Maybe some tips that you guys do. I don't know if you want to give away all your tips. We just kind of gave away our tips, but that's just trying to help you guys out on.
But just the tips.
Hey, that was a good one.
That could be the name of the segment.
Just the tips.
Just the tips.
I got our title for this one. Just the tips. Nice, Lowry.
Gross.
You're witty. All right, let's move into our next segment. Smith Specs of the Week.
I thought you had a sounder for this.
I don't yet. Remember, my kids puked this week.
We can do that. Just have them puke and say Smith specs when you're puking.
Yeah, gross. Puking and pooping at the same time. It was bad.
I don't want to hear about this. I'm sure they don't either.
Yeah, it was bad today. The wife did awesome. I had the little one earlier in the week. I had her take our 3-year-old to frickin' dinner to try to keep him away, but he still got it. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Everybody gets it.
Anyways, so I'll start off.
Let's wrap this up so I can leave.
Yeah, we do got to move
You're
through
all
this
gross.
quick. So my first spec is Sidisi Undead Vizier, and I'm focused on the foils. They're a little expensive, but there isn't a lot of foil copies left. I picked a couple up. I only picked up 2 because they're kind of expensive. But this is a good card. I liked this card. I've actually started putting in decks a while back, a couple years ago.
I've loved you forever.
But it's a tutor. You come into play. It has Death Touch. It's a 4/6, 2 black, 3 colorless. You exploit, which then you sacrifice a creature. If you exploit, you get to go search for any card and put it into your hand. So it's a pretty bonkers card. But the foils are around $15, and they've been around that. But like I said, there isn't a lot of copies left of this one. Yeah. So I think it's gonna. Oh, and last thing,
the tipping point.
Yeah, it's the tipping point. But it's an 18,000 EDH deck.
Became a pirate.
I became a pirate.
It's the tipping point.
Arr!
You didn't have to do that. Not all pirates talk like that.
What's a pirate's favorite letter?
I was going to say C for captain.
No, it's R.
B for boots.
Go ahead.
A
for apple.
My first one. That's accurate, but that's not piratey. Apples go bad on ships. Loose lips.
Ships?
Splinter Twin. So this is one that I was going to be talking about for banned cards. So Splinter Twin is an aura that 2 colorless, 2 red. You tap and you make a copy of the creature that it is attached to. Now this goes infinite with Deceiver Exarch and Pestermite and a couple of other cards actually.
Quite a few, yeah.
And so, but this is banned in Modern, and it's I would suggest buying it in foil or regular, just not Rise of Eldrazi foil because that's like freaking it's more expensive than the Modern Master. Yeah, it's almost
$38.
But
you can get the Modern Masters for 10, and your regulars are $5.
And so I highly suggest going out and at least getting a play set, understanding that there are a lot of people that were like pretty mad that this was banned in Modern, and it's really good. But as cards are printed, decks can become better. Decks can find hate for it, and then they can go, hey, you know what? This card can actually come into play because they've actually banned and unbanned cards. They're pretty liberal with it.
For example, Jace.
Yeah. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yep.
And so understand that, like, yeah, that card was, it was still expensive, but the unbanning of it jumped Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yep.
And then it's done that for Legacy. Look at Legacy. And even Standard, I actually look at cards that get banned in Standard since they're so liberal with banning, but understanding that those are really good cards in Command or in Standard, they might be good enough in Modern, and they might actually spawn a deck because they're good enough to be banned in Standard.
Yeah, that's a pretty good spec with that. I mean, $10 for that, not going crazy.
The foil Modern Master version probably has the most potential.
Yep. Very nice.
Understanding that, it gets unbanned, it's a $40, $50 card easy.
Yep. All right. And then my next one, so mine are a little more expensive, but actually you can go with regular or foil.
Did you get like a raise this week?
Yeah. I've liked Razaketh since it came out. I just wanted to wait till it actually dropped.
I've loved you forever. I'll just use that for all.
So it's Razaketh the Foul-Blooded, and this one is 3 black and 5. It's a demon legendary creature, flying trample, pay 2 life, sacrifice creature, search your library for any card and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. It's an 8/8. You could go for the regulars on these. The regulars are actually what is kind of triggering me to go for the foils, why I bought a couple this week. Because the regulars are starting to rise in price. They're up to $6. They were down, I think, $3 or $4 at one point. Yeah, they were under $4, and so those are up to $6 now. The foils haven't really moved a lot, but they're sitting at about $15. I went for the promo pre-release ones. They're a little bit cheaper than the regulars, but when they spike, they're pretty close in price anyways. Okay. So you save $3 or $4 if you get the the promo pre-release ones.
I like that. Yeah, I like. You're actually both of them as sacrificing creatures and tutoring for any card.
Yeah,
at this point,
very similar. Yeah, they are.
I like doing this, and they're very good.
But
you should buy.
Yeah. This also, when I was buying my couple copies, there isn't many left of the foils at that price. Then they jump to $25-$30 pretty quick.
Yeah,
so that's one of the things talked about in the last segment. But
can I add to just the tips? I just thought of another one. Good time to invest. So standard cards are. Can you just cut this into it?
Cut it. Yeah, just
whatever.
flip it in.
Yeah. So standard cards are expensive because of the demand for standard. When they rotate out, they're going to generally lower in price. And that's a good time to start buying cards that were good in standard because sometimes they can port over into modern or even legacy. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good time to buy. Generally, again, after 4 to 6 weeks is when I start buying, or even when I'm trading, I'm just liberal with it. I'm like, hey, it's cheaper. Let's get it. I'm not trying to be picky with the timing.
You're always liberal.
Yeah. No, we weren't going to talk politics. Jerk. So that's, I mean, like in a. I'm not going to use an example. I don't have the example off the top of my head, but I've gotten plenty of cards when
Yeah, you do a good job of that.
Once they rotate out. I go in. I'm pretty aggressive on it, and then I try and get cards. That
and a lot of times if they're used in EDH and stuff, or
Tyler's Tracker. There we go.
Oh, that's
So
that was one that dropped, and then it came right back up.
It was a $10 card in standard, dropped down to like $3, and now it's up to $15. Like I was just like, I saw it for $3, and I was like. Yeah, I'm going to take these because they're solid cards. And then now I'm happy.
Happy Lowry.
Okay, so my Smith spec is Deadeye Navigator. This is 4 colorless, 2 blue, a 5/5 creature. It has soulbound. When it or another creature comes into play, you can soulbound them, and then you can pay a blue and a colorless to flicker either Deadeye Navigator or the other creature. So this card is sick. It's used in a ton of EDH decks. The foil's $7. I would suggest going and getting that. The regular is cheap. You can go and get that too on $1.50. It was reprinted in Modern Masters 3. And
you can get the Modern Masters version for under $5 too.
For the foil?
Yeah, for foil.
So the card is bonkers because if you have the mana, removal, like spot removal, doesn't kill it.
Yeah.
Because you're able to blink it.
Boom.
It's
a 5/5. Yeah,
it's sick with Thragtusk because you're like Thragtusk, bounce, you gain 5 life, comes back into play. Or when it leaves, you get the 3/3 beast. When it comes into play, you gain 5 life.
Just
and you can do that as
that,
much as you have mana.
Hey, you could do some pretty crazy things with this.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, do it with a deck that you have a lot of enter the battlefield stuff. Yeah. All right. My next is actually kind of 2 things here.
Cheater.
Yeah. The first one is kind of what we talked about with the reserve list Lowry was saying. And so these are the last cards that haven't spiked yet for the flip coin stuff. So I talked about last week, flip coin stuff. These are 2 cards that I think might actually spike. Winter Sky is one. It's from Homelands. This is on the reserve list. It's 1 red sorcery. Flip a coin. Target opponent calls heads or tails while the coin is in the air. If the coin ends up in your favor, it does 1 damage to each creature and player.
Otherwise,
each player draws a card. So no matter what, you're drawing, or it's affecting with your commander.
With Zenda Split? And
with the
Eye of Chaos, the red and blue?
Yep. So, and it's a reserve list card, and it's at 50 cents right now, 65 cents. So you can pick up a couple of these. I think this one's actually about to spike. Just by my, it's all the other ones have spiked. I've been selling my other stuff for 25. My foil chance encounters have been selling like crazy. So everything's been going up. And then my other one is Game of Chaos. Game of Chaos is 3 red sorcery. It's another flip coin thing. But you choose a player, you flip a coin. Whoever loses 1 life. The other one gains a life. Then the loser. Or the loser or the winner?
I can't read it.
Otherwise, I think the winner of each round gets to choose if they do it again, and then it doubles the stakes. So no matter what with this,
There's a winner.
there's a winner and a loser. So your commanders are going to trigger. You can go with either version. There's an Ice Age, and I believe the other one's 5th edition is the other one. Yep, 5th edition. I personally like the look of the 5th edition one better, but it is a white border, so you got to deal with that. But they're both around $2, $1.50. But I think this is, once Battle Bond comes out and people start using that deck, I think these are about to go crazy too.
Okay.
And there's no foil printings of those, so those are regulars.
They're old.
Yeah. All right, and then Larry, your last spec. This is where I messed up because I clicked yours off. Do you remember what your last spec was?
I'm gonna have to look it up.
No, I have to look it up because you texted to me.
You're supposed to get all this stuff down.
I know I messed up when we were searching for stuff.
Eldritch Evolution.
That's right.
Boom. Cut that whole looking section out. So that's sorcery, colorless, 2 green. Also have to sacrifice a creature. And then...
What's with you and sacrificing creatures on your specs today?
What? That was you.
I'm just kidding.
That was you. You should have had this one. And then you get to go and search for a creature and put it into play that is... so like if you go and sacrifice Wood Elves, which is 3 mana, you get to go and search for a creature of 5 converted mana costs or less.
Yeah.
And then, if you have a 5, you can go up to 7. So it's a 3 mana tutor.
Yeah, I like it. Foils? Yeah?
All
foils?
of it. I think all of it's decent to buy. So
you
promos,
think even the
normal buy.
Yeah, I guess these have been on the rise. The regulars have been on the rise. They're almost $3 now. Foils are around 7. Yeah, I've liked this card when it came out.
Yeah. I've loved you forever.
So yeah, that should do it for our Smith specs and actually our podcast. We ran a little long today, but that's
what are we?
That's I think we're at an hour and 20. Yeah, we're almost an hour and 20 minutes.
Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
But yeah, I mean that's
You're
kind
probably the best.
That was our core cards for Commander tend to go a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, I thought we had a decent
cards.
Discussion about the a
how
good
we spec
discussion.
too.
Yeah. Everything we do is amazing. Don't it's that whole in the middle of the road thing.
So yeah, it's your sign off. So you can tweet at us if you guys want to give us new songs at Commander Smiths on Twitter.
And then you can also email us at commandersmiths@gmail.com.
And subscribe to us on YouTube, Commander Smiths once again. And like I said, if you want, check Twitter. I would highly suggest following us on Twitter because I will, if there for some reason we're going to be late with something or whatever happens, that's where the updates are going to be. Yeah, if Lowry's going to be here next week, I will tweet, or we will tweet. You tweet on there and say, I'm grounded.
Well, I mean...
Sorry, Kristen.
I love you.
All right, that should do it for this week. We will, I might be the only one seeing you next week, so we'll see what happens.
This is a podcast. Nobody can see you.
Touche, so man. I, too, have an uncle.
All
right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, see you later. Bye.